Now, the live arm only measures the strength in just one position. So clearly, there's a lot of things that the live arm isn't telling us. So, what is important about that one position that you think makes this effective?
I mean, it's really capturing, the position that your arm is in during that deceleration phase of throwing, which is really important. So, yeah, that phase, when we look at biomechanical studies, the distraction force, so the force keeping your shoulder joint together and not having your arm kind of fling off and go with the ball to the catcher's mitt, it gets up to about 1,090 newtons in an average weight person. So, effectively, what that means is it's probably 1.25 to 1.5 times body weight. And that's a tremendous amount of force when we think about it. That's not too high in the lower extremity, but when we think of the upper extremity and how small these muscles are that help to decelerate that force, that's a large amount of force. So I think it allows you to put the shoulder in that position, and not just the shoulder, but your whole body is in the same position that you're in during that deceleration. So you really capture what available strength you have in that position. And we know from research that if your deceleration strength or posterior rotator cuff mainly, but there's other muscles that coordinate with that. If it's not effective at slowing down the arm, it's going to lead to other structural adaptations that are not good for the shoulder. So if the cuff isn't doing the work and putting the brakes on, we always say those are the brakes. And I tell players on spring training all the time, the muscles that are your engine, right? Are you have like a Ferrari engine because you have big, strong muscles, your pecs, your lats, your teres major, your anterior delt. These are big, powerful muscles that accelerate your shoulder, but the ones that slow it down are very small. So you might have a Ferrari engine, but you got Prius brakes, right? And I tell these guys that, and it kind of hits home to them like, oh, that makes sense. So that's why we have to have these muscles as strong as possible, because if they're not absorbing the energy to decelerate your arm, then that stress is going to go to the next thing in line, which is the posterior capsule, and that could get tighter and thicker. And that limitation of motion could put you at risk for injury, change the way you throw from a biomechanics standpoint. Um, and then it's also, then if the capsule doesn't absorb it, then it's going to kick over to your scapula, and then it's going to affect the scapular stabilizers. So that's why we see this cascade of events typically in throwers as they chronically go through these debilitating adaptations. It'll be a capsule, the cuff will get tight too. Then you'll have scapular arrhythmias. The scapula will be dyskinetic, which will lead to, more stress going back on the shoulder joint. So it'll work to the scapula, and then you'll put more stress on different structures like your cuff and things like that, or your shoulder. So it's this kind of negative kind of loop that you keep going in. So if we could stop it there and maintain strength in that posterior shoulder, then we stop a lot of these structural adaptations from kind of getting out of control and cascading down.
So these adaptations that you see in professional baseball players and that we all are aware of, are any of these adaptations, do you think, beneficial to the pitchers? I mean, having a thick capsule sounds like a good thing.
It might sound like a good thing, but when we look at the cadaver studies that look at how your shoulder joint functions, so the arthrokinematics of your shoulder, it really is detrimental. So the ball, your humeral head, and it goes in the socket of your glenoid. It should stay somewhat centered, and as you're going through the leg cocking phase and getting back there, the anatomy is changing. So, you have structures rotating and tightening and some loosening. And what we see in these cadaver studies, when the capsule gets thick and tight, that it shifts the rotation center to a more posterior superior direction. So your humeral head's going to ride up the back. And that puts a lot more strain on your labrum. That puts a lot more strain on your rotator cuff, so you could get undersurface cuff fraying, you could get bicep issues, you could get, slap lesions that we hear about in baseball, but these labral pathologies really extend even deeper posterior, and they become very problematic.
And these things can develop without the pitcher realizing it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. They're kind of going on in the background without them knowing, and then usually it's unfortunately that kind of one throw that kind of does you in, and you feel that that sensation, and something bad happened. It's kind of the same thing in the UCL, the elbow. It's going on over time. It's getting weaker and weaker, and then that one pitch just kind of does it, unfortunately.
Thank you. Yes. Um, so this live arm, as we talked about, it's been around for a decade now. How come we don't have a good research study proving it? I know I've been trying. Can you explain, as a researcher and somebody who's has over 4 or 5 dozen publications, why don't we have a good publication proving the effectiveness of the live arm?
Uh, these these longitudinal studies are hard to do, and trying to get folks on board to really utilize it at the capacity that would give you good data. So kind of every day or at least once a week, and getting a lot of groups to get on board with that and coordinate that. It's hard. It's really hard to do those kinds of studies, especially if you're going around to multiple different schools, trying to coordinate with either the coach or the athletic trainer or it's all these folks have full-time jobs and they're really busy, so to add something else to their plate is hard. You really need a funded study, so you really need to have significant funding where you could have a full-time research coordinator that's really going out to each of the schools individually doing this. And that's the way you're going to make sure that the kids are measuring, and even then it's still challenging. But I think the funding aspect gives you more resources to allow the feasibility to be a little easier. When we do just straight cross-sectional studies, we take one measurement and we're done. Those are more easy, they're feasible. That's more of what you see in the baseball world, is these kind of one and done cross-sectional studies. We compare the dominant side to the non-dominant side. You do one day or so of data collection and you're good. These longitudinal studies are much more complicated.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are. And I'll also add that because what we're measuring is considered health information and all the privacy laws, the amount of security around gathering that data for IRB approval is very, very onerous.
Yeah, yeah. People don't realize how hard research is.
Um, well, as you know, I didn't start marketing this live arm device until just a few months ago. I tried to gather the data to prove its effectiveness before taking it to market because I felt ethically that was the right thing to do. But I have enough data over the years, and I have the confidence of people like you that know this background and know the knowledge. It gives me the confidence to make this publicly available. So right now we
Yeah.
have several schools using it, the college level, and then a bunch of training centers using it for their travel teams, and we're growing from there.
Yeah, I mean, it's really this idea that there's a having good strength and tracking strength, and having data to support or just inform the athlete about their strength level. There's nothing detrimental about that, right? There's nothing that is going to be like, well, it might go the other way, or it might put the athlete in harm. There's no absolutely no situation that's going to be a bad thing, right? Having more strength, and then the athletes, the key is to get them to treat this as a competition in a sense, right? Like, oh, who had the highest pull today, and then they're coming in each day of like, oh, I'm really gonna do my band work because I want to get the highest pull tomorrow. And again, that's going to be only positive, right? Keep getting a good, strong posterior shoulder. There's no negative effect of that at all. It's going to do nothing but good for these players.
And is there any way to know which exercise program is the best program to protect a pitcher?
I mean, that is a question we could spend years on, to be honest. There's so many different things, exercises that people think are the most effective. I mean, you just have to load the cuff. You have to put load on it. It's not, doing these super light weights and just high reps. Like you got to load it. I mean, when you think about that one and a quarter to 1.5 times body weight, that's significant load, right? So to get it strong and maintain its strength, we have to load it. So there's so many varieties of exercises, and that's another big question that we honestly have with both the scapula and the posterior shoulder is should it be, in between starts? Say you're starting pitcher, should it be concentric only exercise? Should it be concentric and eccentric? Should it be just isometric? How many reps and sets? Should we do high reps? High speed? Should we go low speed, low reps? What load? Like all of those variables, we really don't have a clear, concise answer to.
So
And I
there's
think
no
that's,
objective way to measure which program is better than another.
yeah, I mean that's a career of research right there, just to try to dive into each of those and do a full-blown study on each of those to see, okay, what would concentric only, slow speed, high weight, what was the effect? High speed, like you could spend a whole career on that. But we don't have good answers because, part of it is you have to strengthen it in between starts, but you're going through a recovery process too, right? So you have to maintain recovery and recover that muscle that got damaged during the pitching outing. So, but you want to get the strength back that you lost because we always see a strength loss after pitching. So, the best way to do that recovery is not just rest. It has to be some form of exercise and loading. We just don't know what is the most optimal. I think any of it is going to work well. I'd probably avoid like heavy eccentrics because that's what you did during your throwing. But the high eccentrics really, I think, from the damage of the pitching come from the speed at which it's doing it. So if you look at a force velocity curve of a muscle, the force is the highest during high speed eccentrics. Um, and it's lowest during we get down to isometric is right kind of in the middle. And then as you get faster and faster, concentrically, the load goes down because you're sacrificing velocity for force. Um, so I think that high speed eccentrics is probably the most damaging, and that's why you get damage from throwing. So I'd probably stay away from that and do more slower, a little slower speed. Even if you're doing some eccentrics, keep it on the slower end or keep it closer towards isometric. Um, but I mean, it's a guess, right?
But having the ability to monitor your strength can help you
Right.
figure out which exercises work best for you and know where you are in terms of recovery and training and how to handle your day to day.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, that data will help guide you. It's a trial and error thing, but you have something to benchmark it to, right? You, hey, I tried this new routine. Wow, my strength's going up after my starts now. I mean, that's the best data to help guide you, and it might be very individual. Yeah,
Right.
so and that's why I think the device is really effective to guide that individual pitcher on their recovery, on their, training, their off season, in season, all those variables.
Thank you. Much appreciated.
Yeah,
Good
yeah.
rest of the day.
Yeah,
Beautiful
you
weekend.
too.
Enjoy.
Yeah, enjoy the Phillies game.
Will do.
Yep, see it.
See you.